The city outside the windows of the 37th floor was a wash of amber and shadow, a nighttime mosaic of office lights and distant traffic. Inside, the High Ridge financial offices were nearly silent. Only the low hum of HVAC and the occasional creak of settling steel broke the stillness. Maya Singh was the only one left. Her cubicle was a pool of sterile fluorescence in the sea of darkened desks. She rubbed her tired eyes, blinked at the glow of the dual monitors, and clicked save one last time. The clock on her screen read 8:56 p.m. Another late night, fourth this week. Maya wasn't staying for a promotion. She wasn't chasing a deadline. Truth was, she liked the silence. No meetings, no small talk. Just the gentle rhythm of keys and the calming hum of her own solitude. She stood, stretched, and slipped on her coat. Her heels echoed through the marble hallway as she made her way toward the elevators. As she reached out to press the down button, she paused. Something caught her eye. The smooth metal panel next to the elevator shimmered oddly under the dimmed lights. Upon closer inspection, she noticed it was slightly ajar, barely noticeable, a small gap at the corner where the panel met the wall. Curious, she slid her fingernail along the edge and popped it open. Inside was a small, circular button with no label, just a tiny red light blinking steadily. She hesitated, then pressed it. The elevator doors opened instantly. She stepped inside. The panel was the same, L 1 through 12, and PH for penthouse. But just as she reached out to press L, a new button blinked to life below the others. 13. Her finger hovered above it. The building had no 13th floor. She remembered the HR tour when she was first hired. We skip 13, just superstition, you know how it is. The light on the button pulsed faintly. Maya smiled to herself, half amused, half uneasy. Why not? She muttered, and pressed it. The elevator jolted, just slightly, and began to descend. No floor indicator lit up. No calming voice announced the level. Just the soft mechanical groan as the car slid somewhere, in between. The numbers above the door blinked once, then went dark. The elevator slowed, then stopped, and the doors opened, to a hallway she had never seen before. The air that drifted into the elevator was different, thicker, still, laced with something old. Maya stepped out cautiously, her footsteps muffled by a faded wine-colored carpet that swallowed sound. The hallway ahead stretched unnaturally long, dimly lit by yellowed sconces that flickered faintly. The wallpaper was a pattern of vertical lines and curling vines, peeling in places like old skin. A subtle buzzing filled the silence, as if some hidden machine were always working just out of reach. There were no windows, only doors, identical, unlabeled, and all closed. Maya took a few steps, heels sinking into the carpet. The elevator behind her gave a soft ding, then the doors closed. When she turned to look, the panel was gone. In its place, a blank wall. She pressed her hand against it. Solid, cold, real. A tremor of unease moved through her. Still, she moved forward, drawn by something she couldn't name. Halfway down the hall, she passed a brass-framed mirror hanging on the wall. She paused, expecting to see her reflection. Tired, hair a little frizzy, coat askew. But what she saw stopped her breath. In the reflection, she was seated at her desk, not here, her actual desk on the 37th floor. Typing. Her reflection wore the same clothes she had on now, but the timestamp on the bottom right of the screen in the mirror's image said March 31st, 8:54 p.m. Tonight was April 15th. Maya leaned closer. On the screen in the mirror, she saw an open spreadsheet she hadn't touched in 2 weeks. Her mirrored self suddenly paused typing. then looked directly at her, eyes locking. She stumbled back, and the image changed instantly, just a mirror again. Her own startled face stared back. She touched the glass, cold, solid. Behind her, the corridor groaned as if the building itself had shifted. The sconces dimmed for a moment, then flared. The doors lining the hallway remained closed. But from somewhere deeper in the corridor, she heard a faint, rhythmic tapping, like fingers drumming on a desk. Maya turned and walked toward the sound. Her heart beat faster now, not from fear, from something worse. Recognition. The tapping grew louder as Maya moved down the corridor, echoing off the walls in uneven bursts. Tap, 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 like someone trying to remember a rhythm they'd once known. The hallway seemed to stretch and shift subtly with each step. Doors on either side passed in a blur, each identical, each offering no hint of what lay behind them. Then one stood slightly ajar. The plaque above read, "Surveillance" in faded brass letters. Maya pushed it open. Inside, the room was lined with dusty monitors stacked floor to ceiling, each covered in a fine gray layer of age. A single chair faced the screens. On a nearby console, a reel-to-reel tape machine spun slowly, its spool silent. The hum she'd heard in the hallway grew louder here, almost like static in her ears. As she stepped closer, one of the monitors flickered to life. Grainy footage appeared, black and white, angled down from the ceiling of a hallway. This hallway. In the footage, Maya saw herself, moments ago, stepping out of the elevator and touching the mirror. Another screen blinked on. It showed her walking into the surveillance room, then a third, her standing where she stood now, then another, and another. Each screen showed her from a different angle, all from impossible points of view, some slightly delayed, some ahead of her actual movements. One showed her reaching for the doorknob she hadn't touched yet. Another showed her speaking, though she hadn't said a word. Maya's voice crackled from a speaker above. "Who's watching me?" The voice wasn't hers. Not really. It sounded like her, but slower, off-pitch, like a memory of her voice played back on a warped tape. She turned sharply to leave, but paused. Something was wrong with the door. It wasn't the one she entered through. There was no handle, no frame, just seamless wall. Behind her, the monitors all lit at once, and every single screen now showed her sitting at her desk on the 37th floor, in a dozen different time frames, different days, different clothes, different versions of the same moment. And on one screen, in the corner, a blurred shape stood behind her. Watching. Her breath hitched. A new monitor buzzed. It showed a live feed of her standing in the surveillance room, with a tall figure now entering the frame behind her, slowly. Her heart stopped. She turned. No one was there, but the tape machine clicked. It had stopped spinning. Then the reel began to spin in reverse, and on the screen, her mirrored self began to smile. The tape reel spun faster now, backward, whining like a mechanical scream suppressed by dust. The monitors buzzed. Static rippled across the screens, warping Maya's image until her face blurred and reformed over and over. A soft click. Behind her, a door she hadn't seen opened without a sound. Not a creak or groan, just the whisper of shifting air. Maya turned slowly. A man stood in the doorway, tall, thin, his face pale and ageless, the features smooth in a way that unsettled the eye, like it was trying to be familiar, but failing just enough to be wrong. His hair was combed neatly, skin almost too still, and he wore a charcoal gray suit with a crisp, powder blue tie. He stared at her, expressionless. Maya opened her mouth to speak, but her throat tightened. The words wouldn't come. "You're not supposed to be here," the man said calmly. His voice was deep but distant, like it traveled through layers of old stone. There was no echo. It didn't need one. Maya forced herself to speak. "What is this place?" The man took a step forward. The air grew colder, tighter. "This floor remembers. It doesn't forget. Not like the rest of the building." She frowned. "I don't understand." He tilted his head slightly, like someone examining an insect caught under glass. "You came on your own. That's unusual," he said. "Most are brought." Maya shook her head. "Brought where? There is no 13th floor." "There is," the man said, smiling faintly, though the expression never reached his eyes. "It's just not always visible. It remembers who forgets." She took a step back, her hand reaching instinctively toward the door frame. The man didn't stop her. "You saw yourself," he said. "That's always how it begins." Her fingers touched the wall. No knob, no seams, just smooth, cold surface. "I want to leave," she whispered. "You can," he said, "but you've been seen now. That's not something you undo." He stepped aside, and behind him stood another elevator, old, iron-gated, with tarnished brass and a wheezing motor that sounded alive. It hadn't been there a second ago. No buttons marked the inside, just a panel of empty, worn-out keys. "You can go," he repeated. "But if you return, it won't be the same." She stared at him. "What happens if I do?" The man in the blue tie looked past her, at the monitors still looping. "You won't be watching next time." Maya hesitated, then stepped into the elevator. He closed the iron gate behind her, slowly, and as the old lift began to descend with a shuddering groan, she heard him say, soft, like a thought echoing inside her skull, "The building always remembers." The old elevator groaned as it moved, the metal cage rattling with every inch it descended. Maya stood stiffly inside, her hands gripping the side rail, her reflection flickering in the brass wall like a candle about to die. There were no floor numbers, no elevator music, no sense of direction, only a sensation of sinking, like the car was dropping through something thicker than space. Time, maybe. Memory. A feeling pressed against her chest, as though something unseen was leaning into her, watching, listening. The man in the blue tie was gone. So was the corridor, so was the 13th floor. The lights in the elevator dimmed, then blinked out. For a moment there was only darkness. And then, ding! The doors creaked open, releasing her into the familiar lobby of High Ridge Financial. Polished tile floors, the potted fern near the front desk, the soft glow of LED ceiling panels. The night security guard, Ed, looked up from his tablet at the desk, eyebrows rising in surprise. Maya stepped out, dazed. Everything seemed normal, but too normal, crisp, sterile, like someone's memory of the lobby rather than the real thing. "Evening, Miss Singh," Ed said, adjusting his glasses. "Didn't see you come down." She blinked at him. "What?" He gestured toward the elevator bank. "You go up earlier?" "Thought you clocked out hours ago." I took the stairs," she said quickly, the lie clumsy in her mouth. Ed frowned. "You sure?" He tapped at his screen, squinting. "Cameras say you never left your desk." Maya didn't respond. The elevator behind her gave a soft metallic clunk. She turned, half expecting to see the old iron-caged lift, but there was only the usual modern car, sleek and silent, its panel blinking softly. Number 13 button. Her heart thudded. "Have a good night, Ms. Singh," Ed called after her. She walked to the glass exit doors. As they slid open, she hesitated, casting one final glance over her shoulder. The lobby was still, the elevators gleamed, but just for a second, no more, she caught her reflection in the glass. Her lips were moving, but she wasn't speaking. And in the reflection, she wasn't alone. Someone stood behind her, tall, wearing a blue tie. Maya woke to the sound of her phone alarm. She was in bed, her bed, surrounded by the quiet hum of her apartment. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting soft lines across her comforter. Birds chirped. Coffee brewed itself in the kitchen, a timer she'd set the night before. Everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. She sat up slowly, a heaviness in her chest, like she'd forgotten to breathe in her sleep. The dream, if it had been a dream, still clung to the edges of her mind. The 13th floor, the man in the blue tie, the mirror, the screens, Her phone buzzed. One new email. Subject: Performance Review, March 31st. March 31st, the date from the mirror. She didn't remember any review that day. She opened the message. From HR Department to Maya Singh. Sent. March 31st, 8:54 p.m. Maya, per our conversation earlier, this is to confirm the changes discussed regarding your assignment to floor 13. Please don't mention this to anyone. We'll be in touch. HR. She stared at it. This wasn't in her inbox last night, and HR had never mentioned a 13th floor. Ever. She checked the email metadata, sent weeks ago. Why was it only arriving now? The text shimmered slightly on the screen, just for a moment, as if the words had been rewritten in real time. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door. She jumped. Another knock, firmer. She tiptoed to the peephole. No one was there. She waited, held her breath. Then, tap, 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 soft, rhythmic drumming from the other side. Fingertips on wood, the same pattern from the hallway. Her skin went cold. She backed away. Her phone lit up again. Voicemail from unknown number. She pressed play. Silence. Then, the building always remembers Maya. But now, so do you. Click. The voicemail deleted itself. She stared at the phone in her hand. Then something caught her eye. Her hallway mirror. It wasn't showing her reflection. It showed her desk at the office, the monitors, the spreadsheet, and behind the chair, someone was sitting, wearing a blue tie. Maya woke to the sound of her phone alarm. She was in bed, her bed, surrounded by the quiet hum of her apartment. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting soft lines across her comforter. Birds chirped. Coffee brewed itself in the kitchen, a timer she'd set the night before. Everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. She sat up slowly, a heaviness in her chest, like she'd forgotten to breathe in her sleep. The dream, if it had been a dream, still clung to the edges of her mind. The 13th floor, the man in the blue tie, the mirror, the screens, Her phone buzzed. One new email. Subject: Performance Review, March 31st. March 31st, the date from the mirror. She didn't remember any review that day. She opened the message. From HR Department to Maya Singh. Sent. March 31st, 8:54 p.m. Maya, per our conversation earlier, this is to confirm the changes discussed regarding your assignment to floor 13. Please don't mention this to anyone. We'll be in touch. HR. She stared at it. This wasn't in her inbox last night, and HR had never mentioned a 13th floor. Ever. She checked the email metadata, sent weeks ago. Why was it only arriving now? The text shimmered slightly on the screen, just for a moment, as if the words had been rewritten in real time. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door. She jumped. Another knock, firmer. She tiptoed to the peephole. No one was there. She waited, held her breath. Then, tap, 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 soft, rhythmic drumming from the other side. Fingertips on wood, the same pattern from the hallway. Her skin went cold. She backed away. Her phone lit up again. Voicemail from unknown number. She pressed play. Silence. Then, the building always remembers Maya. But now, so do you. Click. The voicemail deleted itself. She stared at the phone in her hand. Then something caught her eye. Her hallway mirror. It wasn't showing her reflection. It showed her desk at the office, the monitors, the spreadsheet, and behind the chair, someone was sitting, wearing a blue tie. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.